Mandi.
Yeah, that's me.
Mandis.
Yeah, Kimandis.
Okay,
Yeah,
bye,
but
bye.
people at school couldn't say my name properly, and I had a problem with that. So I always told them it's Mandy, rather. And don't say my name wrong.
Mendiza.
Yeah, but people then think I'm
Mendiza.
Xhosa.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not. I'm Ndebele.
Oh, right.
So icebreaker for you. You wake up one morning, and for one day only, when you wake up, you have Julius Malema's voice. What is the first thing you're gonna say?
Julius Malema's voice for one day.
Yeah.
For sure, it's going to be a loud voice. I mean, I drink a lot of water, so I guess, I always wake up and have to pee. And I guess the thought in my mind would be, I have to pee. This is rubbish. And then the voice would be like, rubbish. Rubbish is that thing in your trousers. I don't know. Julius' voice, he's got an important voice, but I think sometimes he uses it to amplify destructive sentiments within the national discourse. So, but I respect the role that he's played in our modern history. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quite interesting. You want to share more?
I'm a person who's quite, I think, politically conscious in terms of not just South Africa, but the continent and internationally, and understanding the different levels and the connections that we have, the history of the world, in terms of politically, the history of the world, economically, which is all intertwined, And I feel like sometimes, some of our leaders, they play on people's ignorance and their lack of understanding of the deeper levels of some of the things that affect our everyday lives.
Okay.
And I think any time a leader needs to speak about something important, for example, Robert Mugabe in Zimbabwe was right about the land issue, but was wrong about his application of the land issue, because now it became a selfish thing based on him trying to affect his own direction. So, I think leaders have to be more responsible in terms of how they disseminate information and drive certain sentiments forward. Yeah.
I agree with you, actually.
Yeah.
So you've got, you said that you've been in the game 30 years.
30 damn years.
How did 30
as a
years-
professional.
as a
but
professional,
I would
okay.
say I've been a musician for maybe 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did it all start? What birthed the artist in you?
I've always wanted to sing. I've always loved performing. I was that kid during birthday parties. I'd be doing the break dance, And once I discovered Michael Jackson, I knew definitely I wanted to be some type of a performer, stage performer. I used to imitate him. But the problem is that I couldn't sing. So around when I was 11, 12 years old, I discovered LL Cool J.
Okay.
And discovered there was an album. My mother used to work for Radio Bob, so I discovered an LP called Beat Street.
Okay.
And it had some of the classic artists like Grandmaster Flash and Mali Mal and, a whole bunch of hip-hop, gurus, and so I knew then from then that I could, this was interesting, and I started learning how to rap. It took me years to know how to rap, but then, around the time I was about 12, 13, we were doing a lot of school variety shows and stuff like that, and therefore that's when a lot of my skills started getting developed. And it was just fun back then. It wasn't really thinking I want to do this as a professional. It's only later when we became better at it and we realized we're better than everybody in the town. Then, that's when it became like, hey, maybe.
I mean, the self-awareness of being that young and you realize you can't sing.
I don't know. I just couldn't. Maybe because they were better singers.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you compare yourself with the next person, you know that you can't
Yeah,
really
I'm not
sing.
that great at this.
Yeah, but there was a part where you know that black people in general can sing.
Yes.
Especially in South Africa, you know, we chant, we wail, we grieve with song, we celebrate with song, and we protest with song. So I mean, we sing lullabies to children, we educate with song. So song is a big part of us, and we've realized, we've seen
Yeah.
the world so far that since we've been given the freedom to be ourselves,
Yeah.
being ourselves is actually something that is very appealing
Yeah.
to the rest of the world.
Okay, so and that's where your journey with music started.
Yeah, I would say that. And I think also my mother's work at Radio Bob, you know, that put me in close proximity with the professional aspect of the music. Although it wasn't seeing musicians record, you know, we would see musicians pass through Mafikeng quite often. So, you know, the Sankomota guys would be in Mahikeng for a weekend and we'd see their kumbi flashing, Bobratsepo, Lewo, Ntate Frank Liepa and stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, or we would hear that my mother is going to Botswana. They're crossing over to Lubatse because Huma Sekela is there and he's being like outlawed in South Africa, but he can perform in Botswana. So she goes there, comes back with some merch, Kaifas and Leta as well. So we started knowing that, okay, music is this special thing. You know, my mother, na groove blind. So, so, you know, her and her friends, bo Auntie Pearl, you know, would be out, and then on a Friday night, come on my 11, 12, you're sleeping after you've watched the A-Team, and then you hear...
A-Team as in...
Yeah, the A-Team.
Okay. With the guy saying you're Mr. T.
Yeah, but Mr.
Okay.
T or Toyota Top 20. Toyota Top 20. And, you know, and then in the middle of the night, Stimela Sasazola, you know, in the middle of the night, you know. So music just started becoming a part of our lives. Some of my friends were the friends of my mother's, they were the children of my mother's colleagues.
Yeah.
And friends, so that, you know, we were always growing up in this music industry type environment with Radio Bob. And Radio Bob really set the tone for a lot of what the cosmopolitan radio landscape looks like in South Africa today.
Yeah.
You know, Bob Power FM, Kaya, Metro, they are all 2000 to a certain degree, are all kind of modeled after what Radio Bob was.
Right.
To the point where even some of the key DJs were all like recruited from Radio Bob. Guys like Tish Matez, Bob Mabena, Melanie, Notemba Madumo, Glenn Lewis, Zandile, Nzalo, you know, a whole bunch of, where they all came out of Radio Bob.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so it really actually...
Yeah, it developed a lot of
people.
Yeah, yeah.
So when does poetry become part of, because you're a poet as well.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you then infuse poetry with music?
It's still all genetic, I think. So you can actually say that my childhood is really responsible for most of the direction. A key part of the direction I took in life later, because my grandmother was a poet. You know, during family functions, she would conveniently disappear around the time the speeches or whatever. And then sometime there in it, or at the convenient moment, you would hear her frail voice coming from the back. And you know, like a frail voice because she's old, but not because she's weak.
Yeah.
So it's a voice that would then demand attention. So because of the frailty of that voice, people would keep quiet and then pay attention and center attention around her. And she'd come with a verse, you know, from the back and just dropping it. People and say, "Can I get it there? Hey, what, you know?" So
what a performer.
And then she would get there and do her thing. But I never knew that I had it in me until the day we had to write Tati's Gupu.
Okay.
So one day, you know, Jasid and Taniso are recording there in the studio. I'm outside the studio sitting under a tree trying to write the lyrics.
Yeah.
And I'm just, like, first of all, I'm literally losing it because, you know, you can hear the parts, like Tandiswa's part, you can hear Jasid's part on the song. And I can't figure out what am I going to say?
Yeah.
What am I going to do on this thing? I said a little prayer to Mudimu, Mudimu Ntuse. And I swear, I only had to think about the first line, the opening line. The rest of it just fell down like a cascade.
Wow.
So, you know, it was pretty... so this, and then from then on, you know, I had to go into my education, Setswana class and everything, and bring back all those things. So it started with me expressing myself in English and finding a way to say it Setswana until the thoughts in terms of their origins were in Setswana.
So you actually went to Tswana classes to kind of revive the Tswana in you, or the language?
Absolutely. And as I started expressing myself in Setswana, my mother was so proud of me. So a lot of the time, you know, she would give me little pointers and little sayings, you know, things that I end up even opening verses with, like mogala tshwara thata e se re go utlwa sebodi wa khaoga wa itira sebote o sa ga moswe mosala wa bofologa.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
That's my mother giving me a line that I retain in my pocket for the day I need it. So my family, in fact, knows Setswana, deeper Setswana better than me, you know. There are better poets in my family in terms of, you know, the freestyle side of things than I am.
Yeah.
So it's a nature and nurture thing, I think, definitely.
I think also, like, at the time that you guys were, like, starting off, like Bongo Muffin, for example, we didn't have people rapping or doing poetry much on a tape.
At all.
Yeah, in their home language.
Yeah, because, you know, Oskido was a big part of that.
Okay.
You know, that's why I think that the difficult part for most artists is that thing that with say hip-hop, trap, and with Mapiano, some kids can just become superstars from their own, you know, reckoning, from their own skills without a mentor. You know, you're within a bedroom studio one day, and the next day you are a global superstar.
Yeah.
With a lot of the formative foundation missing. So you need people to guide you through your development, you know, people who have been there and know better. And so with me, it was easier to have someone else, you know, guiding and encouraging, say, hey, my man, can you try this? Can you do it like this? Can you, you know, form so that you have confidence? Because if it's you doing it, you might be thinking, hey, I'm wasting my time with rubbish. But if it's someone that you respect, like Oskido saying, hey, man, I grata the rhythm and texture ya Setswana. So can you ozame or something in your language? Then it's easier for you to experiment and, you know, try and fail rather than, and still have confidence. Rather than if you try and fail and you're like, I'm never trying that again.
And I mean, you've paved the way for a lot of artists, especially in the hip hop space, because they're all now doing their home language. They're all rapping in, I mean, from Motswako. I think you created Motswako. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say created, but within Motswako, I was the first to rap Setswana, and use the word Motswako as an expression. We were doing the remix ya Summertime, a song that we did in our debut album in 1996. So I was looking for a word for the word remix, ya Setswana, you know. And I couldn't find one, but there was a word for mix. So that word is Motswako. And I was repeating that this is Motswako. This is the remix, you know, in the song. And then I heard Iggy Smalls from Twist Style. He was the program's director ko Ntonyana ko YFM. And then they had a song called The 1, 2, Can You Feel the Motswako? And it was the first time I heard someone use that word Motswako in a song, you know. Double HP subsequently appears after that, and now he has crystallized a style, and it's clear from song to song to song. You can hear this is a consistent style, you know. So I would say Double HP, man. Double HP really consolidated Motswako. I'm the guy who was walking on the riverbank and saw an uncut diamond, and Double HP cut it. And I think Iggy Smalls took that diamond and realized there was something. He put it on display somewhere, and I think Motswako, Double
That's
HP came
poetry right
through.
there.
Yeah, Double HP came
That's
through with a
poetry
cutting
right
blade
there.
and turned it into something that was really valuable and usable by other people. And people started copying the technique and developing. Your Kulichanas came through, all the Morafi boys, Toddy Mac. And when you see those boys, that generation, each one contributed something really significant. Tooks with the punchlines, Momulimi with the storytelling, Morafi as a whole with the rhythm and the flow, and you can keep going. The new guys, Fifi Cooper, came through with the softness,
Now she's back, yeah.
And Notsi, came through with the attitude and the streets, So I think each one of these kids that have come through with Motswako, they've really, really built it into a beautiful castle. The problem is the ground shifting below us,
Okay, explain.
So you find that the music industry changes a lot according to what is trendy.
Yeah.
And this happens within the towers and the offices.
Yeah.
Because A&Rs can change that, and they are in collaboration, in cahoots with the industry, with the media industry. So if an A&R starts convincing the programs manager or programs director in a radio station that this is the new sound, start pushing this sound.
That's it.
That shifts.
Yeah.
That shifts. The market follows through, especially if, those people are skilled enough and they know how to place whatever it is. We saw it happen with 80s disco when Kwaito came along.
Okay.
And we saw it happen to Kwaito when hip-hop
Came around.
came along. And we saw it happen to hip-hop when Mapiano or Gom came along, and
Now Mapiano.
and now Mapiano. And now you're going to see it happen with three-step, shifting traditional Mapiano out to the side a bit with tech, Afro tech sound. So it's important that you know the science of what you're doing, so that when the ground shifts, you can find your balance. Unlike people running out of the buildings, in Japan, the buildings shake along with the ground.
Are
So
they
you-
on,
yeah.
what's floating?
Yeah, there's those floating with
foundations.
with gimbal foundations and all of that. So it's important that you learn a formal skill based on what it is that you're doing, so that when the ground does shift beneath you, you can survive and go forward. So with Motswako, I feel like some of the guys were not prepared for the ground shifting.
Okay.
And as a result, reinventing yourself and moving along with the times has been difficult for most.
But how do you then keep afloat? I mean, it's been 30 years in the game. How have you been able to stay relevant in 30 years? I mean, most people's careers don't last 30 years in
Absolutely.
any industry.
We were told that an average career lasts for 5 years. So we should have been done by 2000. We should have been done by 2000. But it is important to keep reinventing yourself, learning new things, and having enough of an arrogance to know that you know what you know, but have enough of humility to know what you don't know.
Be open to learn.
Yeah, be open to learning. Because a lot of the time, because we know so much about what we know, our area of speciality, we assume that we know everything about everything. And it's important that, you keep asking other people who know better than you,
Okay.
who might have better skill, who might have better knowledge, or who might have learned something new. Hook up with the kids. They do things different. There's nothing new under the sun.
True.
Except
I'm
how
learning
it's
that
done.
now. Yeah.
So it's for me, every 5 years I learn a new skill.
Okay.
I've learned new languages. I've used Duolingo to learn Spanish.
Wow.
I've
Who are you
learned.
speaking Spanish to, by the way? Like, shouldn't you learn Swahili? Something more?
Probably
African?
I should, but I speak almost all the South African, or I can communicate in almost all the South African languages,
Okay.
and except maybe Sitsonga le Sevenda, ne? And that also, their days are numbered. I'm coming, you know. Baremini. Rovua kakati.
Di
macheroni abuti. No, and you know, I think maybe after that is French and Portuguese.
Okay.
You know, with Spanish was just because I was preparing myself for the day I go to Ibiza. I haven't been to Ibiza yet, you know.
It's on your bucket list?
Yeah, it's in my bucket list. Definitely. Or to Cuba.
Okay.
Or to Cuba. And then, you know, learning how to use, for example, a DSLR. Okay. Using a camera to know what the manual settings mean on a DSLR and on the lenses, what focal lengths and f-stops mean. You know, I learned that. I taught that to myself. How to DJ, I taught that to myself.
Wow.
So you keep learning. You just keep learning constantly, and so far it's worked for me. Look, it's a double-edged sword because then you become a master of none. But I've got a saying that a jack of all trades is a master of none, but still better than a master of one.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. So with that, you're able to kind of have a closet of expressions that allow you to brief the professionals better and communicate through the process better. So if I'm speaking to a film director about a film project that we're doing, I'm going to be able to speak better and describe better what my desires are. You know, if we're looking through the viewfinder or the monitor, I can, you know, say, drop your f-stop, drop your ISO, drop, you know, and I know exactly what the effect of that is going to be.
Yeah.
If I'm speaking to my producer or my engineer in the studio, we can talk about EQ and we can talk about frequencies, and we're both going to know what we're talking about, you know, and so on and so on. So that means that my output, the quality increases as well.
Absolutely.
And with improved quality of output means then viability of the product that you have on the shelf in general.
And longevity, no?
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, 30 years, that's no game.
It is.
How did you guys start Bongo Muffin? How did it all come together?
So Bongo was a straight up, you know, drawing board concept. We literally put it together element by element. You know the way you put together a boy band?
Yes.
So...
like Boys to Men?
Yeah, exactly. Like B2K, like New Kids on the Block, you know, New Edition. So we actually based it on Boom Shaka.
Oh, okay.
Boom Shaka, straight up. It was that time where dancehall was really popular, and I had dancehall and raga influences.
Okay.
Speedy did, Tandiswa did, and so obviously Jasid did. And so, Nale Oskido in 95. So when I arrived in Jozi, we were supposed to record. I was supposed to be part of the project with Tebe and Bruce.
Okay.
We just met Oskido during the December bashes. There was one big one called Waza 95, where we actually performed and shared the stage, Libo Oskido, Libo Christos, and Boom Shaka.
Is it that event that happens on the last day of the year?
Yeah, it was like a New Year's event.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a 95. So it happened New Year's Eve of 1994. But a week before there had been like other bashes and stuff. So, you know, and our demo was doing the rounds in Mafikeng for some months before that.
Oh wow, okay.
So, you know, every time the guys in our crew were DJs. So when they're playing Amagents Ayapanda or Ding Dong, Ya Jonina, then they would play Diaboa Kofili right after that, you know?
Yeah.
Or Ewe Le Puso, you know? Ewe Le Puso, Leminati Yati, you know? So, Oskido meets us, and that was the time Boom Shaka was leaving Kalawa with Christos. They just left, I think, December. and Boskido Le Dono were looking for new artists, you know. And Oskido went
about
back after he
perfect
met us.
timing.
Yeah, great
like time-
timing, yeah.
yeah.
There's no luck in the world. It's when opportunity meets your
It's
preparedness.
preparation.
And so a week later, Oskido was there to collect us. And what Bruce did is he took all the artists that were doing demos with him. So he took all of them, all of us, you know, to come along with him in terms of the projects he was going to do. But this particular project, so now I was going to be like, you know, the chanting guy, Tebe was the DJ, and Bruce was the producer, engineer guy. So we were going to call the group Sample Masters.
Okay.
But now I was coming under the guise of going to school to my mother.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
I'm going to school in Josie, but I knew. But just around the time Mosquito came to fetch the guys, I caught a case.
Oh.
I was driving without a license, drove a bit recklessly, and hit someone with a car.
Oh my God.
And I had a case which basically I had to attend. The guys were recording here. They released the album. And when I arrived in Joburg, the plan was that I was going to do a solo project.
Okay.
But, you know, that time, the only viable rap outfit was Prophets of the City.
Okay.
And just in general, when you look at the landscape, the hip-hop is not really working at that time. Like, to drop a 16 and what, it was just not going to work. Yeah. So, you know, I started doing little cameos on Tebe's show, performing, you know, I would perform with Oskido. I remember we were using Brandy's beat, I Wanna Be Down, and and I had a hook on there, dropping verses. But, you know, as time went on throughout the year, me and Oskido started getting to talking, and we were like, and it was Oskido's thought, but what about if we were to go for a group that's more like, has the elements of Boom Shaka, you know? So we spread the elements. We've got a singer, we've got a ragga DJ, and you as the rapper.
Yeah.
You know? And then we're like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. So me and
He
Oskido then
loves you,
started
hey?
setting...
waiting for you firstly, because now obviously you caught a case.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're not making it on time anymore like everybody
Yeah.
else. And the train didn't miss you. You still caught the train.
Well, he kind of left me behind because they recorded the album and went.
that album was recorded
Yeah,
and
they
done.
went ahead.
Okay.
They went ahead and did
Okay.
it. I just featured on some of the thingies, the little, you know, parts, you know,
Yeah.
just backing vocals, little chants here and there, you know. You know, I remember there was this song, Di Biri Di Chipi. And on it, there's a voice that says, Tebe, can you funk this? Tebe, can you funk this? Ha ha, Tebe. That's me.
Oh,
You know,
okay. You were doing the ad-libs.
Yeah, the
That
little
is so
ad-libs.
cool.
So, you know, I was dancing for Tebe, doing background vocals and whatnot. So I was already part of the process from the moment I arrived in
Okay.
Jozi.
Wow,
You know,
okay.
so the plan was already there. While the plan was developing, I was within the crew and Kalawa, and
That's
we were already there.
incredible.
So the idea and the vision just changed
Okay.
over time. So, and I was down, man. I was just happy to
be
be
part of
be a part of it. So whatever ideas that Oskido, as you know, the big mentor had, you know, we were going along with it because he hardly ever had a bad idea.
Yeah.
You know, so and then we literally just set about looking for those people to fill out those positions. You know, we first approached Ishmael, but Ishmael, they were starting Scheme.
Okay.
You know, because Ishmael and Eli Boom Shaka, they were dancing for Prophets of the City.
Okay.
You know, with Junior from Boom Shaka. So we left that. We went to Speedy, approached him. He agreed. And then we heard about Jasid. And he was still called Appleseed.
Okay.
And he was in Bulawayo, you know, making waves on the club scene. And then,
What, as a DJ?
yeah, as a DJ,
Okay.
as a dancehall DJ. Oskido went to Zim, cut a demo with him, And late 1995, early 96, as we were trying to get him to South Africa, he lost his mom from to malaria.
Okay.
And so that extended the time a bit. He came through, and sometime in 96, we recorded the Bongo debut.
Bongo debut, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. And what are some of the challenges you guys actually experienced when you first started Bongo Muffin? Let's say one album in. What are some of the challenges you guys experienced?
Well, I would say it for us there wasn't much of a challenge, because we were coming in somewhat pre-cooked.
Coming in hot.
From Mahikeng, man. Mahikeng was a real fertile, bed for artists. The environment really sharpened us for whatever we experienced in Jozi.
Okay.
So almost every platform that I think we saw in Joburg, we had already experienced at a smaller scale in Mahikeng. Be it a world-class type stage. We had auditoriums and amphitheaters in our schools or in the youth centers like Mabana in Mahikeng.
Yeah.
Studio, state-of-the-art recording facilities. We were already allowed in places like Bob Recording Studios and within the Bob TV and Boputazona Broadcasting Studios facilities.
Yeah.
So everywhere we went, we were doing shows. We were allowed to be curtain raisers on big shows, big bashes, because of guys like Aldrin Mohodzi, who used to be the boss at Kaya and Metro, and I think a lot of people know the legendary Aldrin Mohodzi, may his soul rest in peace.
Yeah.
Guys like Tish Mataz, were giving us platforms, to come and work with him. Bruce was doing jingles on the radio and stuff like that while we're still in the demo phase.
Okay.
So that gave us a nice thing that by the time we got to Joburg, the bright lights were not really overwhelming us.
Okay.
And we were able to keep our cool and just, keep our eyes on the prize.
So I see that you guys are one of the very few people that still do rehearsals.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's important? Because
Do
I
you
think
we're one of the few people. People don't do rehearsals.
maybe they don't document them, so
Yeah.
I don't know that if they do them. Sometimes when you watch people on stage performing, it doesn't look like they rehearsed. Why is it so important, especially for the younger crowd?
Yeah, I think the younger
watching
crew definitely don't do rehearsals. With us, there's too many moving parts. So the beauty about live music is that the ability to connect 10 brains on a stage and have a harmonious sound coming out. That is an amazing science.
Yeah.
To have a computer sequence it and do it for you and align everything, and all you have to do. I mean, guys don't even do their own live voices anymore. They sing along with their songs. So you wouldn't really rehearse for something like that. But I think to have a bass line playing independently, a drum line playing independently, vocals that have to all blend, and have harmony on a stage, that needs constant honing and sharpening and making sure that everything, is in line. And that helps, to make the presentation as professional as the people expect. Because it's key that when you're charging, we charge, man, as the older artists.
Yeah.
I know that on average, most of the older artists charge beyond 100K per show.
Yeah.
So you need to always be there honing your instrument. Even a guitar at some point needs the strings to be adjusted. A piano needs tuning. So that works to make sure that we are always on the cutting edge.
So are you saying that for someone who doesn't charge so much, they can just get on stage and do whatever?
No, because how do they get then to it's you don't get paid for your time. You get paid for the value that you bring within that time. It's really key that people work hard for the money that they pay
To come to a show.
pay for something that is actually a luxury. Music and entertainment is hardly ever a necessity, although, you know, for mental health and well-being, you do need some type of relaxation and fulfillment. But, you know, in order to make that exchange equitable, you need to give your audience the respect of delivering a high-quality product. You know, you can't go there off tune and forgetting your lyrics and your steps. And when the people born, they know your songs word for word. You know, so it's really a respect thing. So I would say that if you don't rehearse, it's going to show.
Yeah.
It's going to show on your presentation, and soon enough, the people are going to, you know, catch wind of that.
True.
And punish you.
So have you ever had like done a mistake on stage, maybe fallen, forgot your lines?
All the time.
Really?
All the time. Like,
How do you come back from that?
back in the days of like the cables, you know, where on stage, you know, the mics had cables and cords.
Yeah.
So much could go wrong with the mic, right? You could step on a cable if you're not holding it right, and the mic would slip out while you're singing. Or you could step on a cable and then it rolls and you fall from the cable, or you could trip on the cable, you know, running across the stage. Your cables can get intertwined with the other people's cables.
Or if you guys are walking up and down on the stage.
Yeah. Or you could step on the cable and the cord comes out. And you're holding onto the mic and you're singing.
No one can hear you anymore.
You know, there's so much that goes on, that can go wrong. But what's important is to make sure that it's at a minimum. And also, when that does happen, if you're well rehearsed, you're able to just pop up and continue as if nothing went wrong. And usually people forget about that.
And tell us a time when you felt like this is the moment where we as Bongo Muffin have made it. Like, give us the moment in time where you're like, guys.
Now we've made it, guys. It took a couple of albums. I think it's when we did by the third album.
Okay.
So we did Leaders of the Gong.
Yeah.
It came out to, you know, warm acclaim, lukewarm nyana acclaim. And then we did the next album, which was Final Entry, which had, you know, songs like Makeba and Hotel California.
Okay.
And, you know, it became a bit warmer. It was hotter, nyana. But when we did Concerto, the third album, it was blazing.
Yeah.
It was hot. It was the hottest thing on the scene. And we were beating, at the Kora and the Summers, we beat Brenda Fassie.
Wow.
You know, in the same category. And I think at the Koras we had Angelique Kidjo on the same category.
Wow.
And then I was like, yeah. And when now our album moved from, we did gold and platinum in the same week.
Sure.
That's when I was like, okay.
We've arrived.
Yeah, we've arrived. So it was a bit of a process. It took a while, and that's when you start respecting the role of the A&R. Because someone like Lindelani Mkhize and Lazisi Robe, who were running Sony at that time, were really key in doing that, and they repeated that process because they did it with us, then they did it with Mafikizolo, and did it with Malaika. None of those three groups, which ended up becoming mega groups within the genre, blew up on the first project. So you had people who believed and knew what they had in terms of the product that they were holding on to, and knew what steps needed to be taken in order to get it to the right stage and the critical mass that it had potential to have. So definitely by the third album we knew that things are happening.
It has started.
Yeah.
Tell me, like most groups in South Africa tend to split up for whatever reason. But what's kept you guys together?
We've had like a tree, an old tree with branches. Some of the branches, as a tree continues to be alive, a branch can fall off, but from that falling off, it can energize other branches to, spout new shoots. I think it happened some years ago with Speedy in around 2000 when he left to do the solo. It's currently happening with Thandiswa, I think. Since COVID, we haven't performed with her.
I was actually asking about that.
Yeah. So, the key is when that happens, for that, because there's 4 people, it's for that not to sow the seed of total division and collapse. So the 3 of us have kept the music alive. The music alive, and the same way we did when it was just 3 of us, and I would on the stage sing Ngithi woza nawe. That was my part for a good 10 years, of performing. So groups split simply because one, the industry, has got people singing in your ear, people telling you, yo man, it's you. You should go solo. Because it happened with Speedy. I think to a certain degree it happened with Thandiswa when she did her debut album, and she's done pretty well as a solo artist. And so you can't really compete with that, because me realizing my dreams on my own is always going to trump me realizing my dreams while working with other people, because within that arrangement, you have to curtail some of your approaches. Understanding that there's 3 other people who have equal decision-making powers within the collective. So a lot of groups usually don't have 4 strong members. It's usually, one guy as the head of the band, and everybody else, is the accompaniment. And that's not the case with Bongo Muffin. You got it's more like a collective of people. So you find that even if we're able to grow in different directions, we still have the strength to have kept our audiences. And when we come back together, everybody brings back their audience, and it still consolidates into the Bongo Muffin audience. So, it's there's different dynamics with groups that are different to, say, a solo artist.
Do you think making new music is something that you guys are looking at doing? Considering your catalog is powerful, it's strong. I mean, it can go for another 20, 30 years.
Look, Bongo, that has been a key challenge.
Okay.
Whether it's simply because of the big chunks of time that we take between projects. We dropped an album in 2019, right? The end of 2019, called From Bongo with Love. And then literally 2 months later, we had the lockdown with COVID. And that guaranteed that the album just flopped in terms of what we were used to with Bongo albums. And the thing is, with our market, it's not really a kind of market where you can push stuff online. I think since then, the market has developed for people to be more receptive to interfacing with the internet. But back then, it wasn't like that.
Case,
So, I would say before we even do an album, we would need to revisit that project and just push certain jewels that we have, man, in that album. Songs like Mafate, songs like Mama Winnie. There's a few other songs like Voma and Party in Africa that kind of reared their head a little bit.
Okay.
That you needed to kind of get a foothold. But generally, I don't think there's enough of an incentive to do another Bongo project for a while, Within the Bongo Muffin catalog, there's a lot of songs that we don't perform.
A lot.
I would want to rather do, say, Bongo one-man shows, where we, will do a 2-hour set.
What is a one-man show? Because nowadays...
they call it a one-man show, but it's not.
Why is it called a one-man show? Because in comedy, I get it's a one-man show, and the
a one-man show is supposed to be a one-man show. It's supposed to just be
But
a
in
one-man
music,
show.
it's like you perform an hour and then you give
Yeah.
the rest of the lineup to other people, and it's called a one-man show.
Yeah,
Why?
it's more like, I think, you and the features.
Okay.
You and the features, people that you featured on and people that have featured with you.
Okay.
And then you are like
The main
the
artist.
centerpiece of the whole performance. But guys kind of call it the one man show because
don't know
you show
why.
okay, like MT's one man show, Shimza's one man show.
Yeah, no, it doesn't land with me. Every time I hear one-man show, I'm like, no, I'm not going. Just call it
so-
a concert, and then we'll come. But one-man show,
But with Bongo, it could probably be a one entity show because
Absolutely.
simply because within Bongo we've got a group, and then Speedy's got his solo. If we had to put Mazwai there, she's got her solo. I DJ,
yeah.
I perform as well. Jassy DJs, So you've got about 6 or so hours of
good music.
good entertainment with us, just as a collective, all 4 of us.
Yeah.
So I think there's still a lot to do in that regard before we even say, at our age. And this goes across the board, for your Judith Sipumas, your whoever. Those musicians should really learn how to repackage. If you repackage your music and find new, interesting ways of presenting it, come into a place like Nose Bistro here and doing an unplugged here, moving this couch, putting a small stage here, doing an unplugged to an exclusive audience here. You know what I'm saying?
Great idea.
That can work while you're doing a wine tasting.
Yeah.
And you've got art. In fact, hey, that's an idea for you.
Have a creativity just keeps going.
Yeah. Ideas are flowing. So, I think it's for me. What holds more appeal is that repackaging and finding new ways of presenting what people love. A lot more. Like I remember, we had some of the big fights we were having back in 2019 when we were just about to release the album was about song choice in terms of the single. Because my whole logic was, in terms of our market, so we dropped Voma, which was a pseudo piano
Who's your
song.
market, by the way? Who's your market?
Our market is mostly, mature. If I could put a personality to it, it's that 28 to 45-year-old,
Okay.
single mother with maybe 1 or 2 kids, primary school going kids. She drives a hatchback, works for a corporate company. She is middle to lower level management, and she parties per appointment. Her and her friends, they decide they're going to a show a month, 2 months before the show. They save up for that and budget for that event, and they don't miss that event.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Ono astrope.
I see. She's not a Savannah babe.
Yeah. No, she's a Savannah girl as
Okay,
well.
okay.
Ono, Benini.
Okay. Panini Mimosa.
Yeah. Maybe Lijin or Ratanyana, but it's Tenkore gets to where it's a little bit too expensive. I guess if she's really treating herself, she will get a bottle of Malfi here and there. But Tenkore is where she's at.
Okay.
That's the core. That's the core of my market. That's been my market as well through when I was doing Afro Cafe.
Okay.
So doing Afro Cafe helped me to kind of hone in on that market. And if she comes, her boyfriend is coming.
Okay.
Or the guy that wants her.
Funny.
So yeah.
So you were saying...
I was saying that for us to start recording the album back in 2016 or so, 2015, 2017, because it took us about 2 years to do the album.
It's a long process.
So for us to do DSTV Delicious and start recording in 2017 was not because the market wanted to see how well we could do a DJ Maporisa song.
Okay.
People were missing songs that were like Tatis Gupu and the Wekunga Kona and Kurawoni, So it was important that when we chose a single, we chose a song that was basically leaning on those sentiments. And the guys all went and chose a song that they thought was relevant for this particular new time. So we chose a song called Vuma, which I thought was okay. It was a nice album track, but it was lukewarm. It wasn't really, really hard on
single.
what Bongo Muffin is about. So it for me, we still have to go back to those songs and make people hear those songs and repackage, as I said, so that people can understand what that album was about before we go forward. There's a lot of loose ends that need to be tied up.
You think people will still be interested?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. People don't know what they want until you show them that they want it. You know, I am a marketer at heart, a brander at heart, and I understand how to sell and how to sell difficult products. I'm a difficult product. My whole experience as an artist was being a first, but also being able to present myself as a first. There were no Setswana cosmopolitan presenters who would present an entertainment product in Setswana like I did with Afro Cafe. You know, I broke new boundaries with it. Today, it's a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
You know, so I've got experience with that, and part of it is having integrity in terms of how you present that and how you communicate. We didn't teach ourselves Setswana. You know, we didn't teach ourselves delivery, and we didn't create TV. If you take care of the fundamentals, it resonates. It resonates. You know, there was a scientific experiment that they did where they took two tuning forks and put one against, I think, a glass.
Okay.
And then had one which they were hitting against a hard surface so that the tuning fork would make a tone like boom. They first started taking the tuning forks that were not on the same frequency as that one, the one against the glass.
Okay.
And then you'd hit it, it had no reaction. But through the atmosphere, once they hit that one tuning fork, that was the same frequency, they produced the same frequency, that other one, without touching it, started vibrating. So there's a lesson in the scientific aspect of resonance. So if your expression resonates with other people, and the thing is, human experience is common. That's why we have the same nightmares of falling off a cliff, and then before you hit the ground, you wake up, or running away from a monster and you can't run, or trying to hit someone and you can't hit them, you know, or being naked in public. All of us have had that dream, simply because subconsciously, the root of our consciousness comes from the same place. So if you express yourself in a way that resonates and is honest and has integrity, it resonates with the next person. And I think we have songs within that album that have a latent resonance with other people if they would hear those songs.
Why I ask is because the pace of music in South Africa has really picked up. So people's, like, music on a shelf, its lifespan is a lot shorter because there's music coming out like weekly, actually daily.
Yeah.
There's a new song daily coming out. So how are you guys going to package your music in order for you guys to still...
That's industry. The industry is doing that.
Okay.
It's not nature that's doing that. People have, that's why within that industry, you know, John Wick, there's still people who John Wick is still their favorite all-time song, and they play John Wick in their own private space. They're still playing Shesha Keza in their own space. The industry is not. The radio is not. You know?
True.
It's not number one on iTunes. But in certain people's lives, it is. So I think with us, we have developed beyond the industry. And we are able to, if we directly target. And the beautiful thing about technology these days is that you are able to actually directly target and interface with your audience without needing the industry in between you and them. You know, there are guys that have bigger followings than certain radio stations, certain TV shows, certain, you know, media houses.
Direct
to the people. You're talking to 10 million people on the daily who are dedicated to what you are producing.
Yes.
Not like if there's a newspaper that's written and there's one story that's relevant to you. It is the kind of newspaper where every story within that newspaper is relevant to you every day. And you are opening it by choice. And it's not that when the timetable, that program is passed, then you've missed it. Whenever you're ready, you pop out your phone and consume. So it's.
That's a
I
good way
think
to put
that
it.
our markets and our people, if you look at, say, these soul events
Yeah.
done by a guy called DJ Skilo,
Okay.
he, for the past few years, he's been doing these old school R&B events.
Okay.
Now he's got Cam coming up.
Yes, I saw.
We opened for Drew Hill,
Drew Hill
last
year.
year. Speedy's been working with them as well. They are catering for a specific market.
Yeah.
And I promise you, chances are half of the people that attend all his events have been to all of his events.
True. Yeah.
It's repeat. There are people who have a special budget for attending because he repeatedly is catering for their needs. And that's what is key with us. It's no longer us riding the bandwagon of that popcorn music where it's just in and out, candy
in and
floss,
out, yeah.
Cotton candy, in and out, in and out. No. I think there's still a space for you to take. That's why Sade doesn't release all the time. And everybody, Sade refuses to go perform for $1 million in the UAE, some special thing in Dubai. She's like, no, I'm retired for now.
Or come back.
Or
when I come
forever.
back. Yeah.
Kitabona. She dropped Soldier of Love years ago and that's it. And I think Bongo is that type of an entity where we absolutely do not need to chase the industry anymore. And I wish a lot of other musicians who are actually steadily chipping away at their equity by trying to, because by associating their music with these new failures in the new industry, you're chipping away at your old equity.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's very profound, actually.
Yeah.
Because people are chasing quick money, in a sense, trying to make a daily living, and ultimately they're actually shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah. Ask a person who goes to, say, like, let's say anyone. We can choose who. Like, let's say Judith Sipuma again. Ask a guy who goes to a Judith Sipuma show. Would you go to a Judith Sipuma to hear Judith's old songs like Mema Motswadi, or would you want to hear new stuff from Judith? Like, if you just had to choose, or Judith, make me a new song and I will come and listen to it, or Judith, do a special show for me.
I think I'd go for the special one because it's got so many memories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That is the market that we're catering for. The youngsters, they are still consuming. It's still about the new thing.
Yeah.
Rona, we are at that age where if you've got a pair of Gucci loafers or Prada loafers, they are high quality. They're probably 10 years old or 15 years old.
True.
And
Vintage.
Kidi vintage in that. They are the proper stuff. It's not like you're wearing them because they are great shoes, because they are quality shoes, before the fact that they are Gucci's.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I think that's where we are at as Bongo. You're wearing us not because we've got the latest thing, but because it is great music, it is great memories, and it's being presented in a way that doesn't diminish its quality and the memories that you have, that you're carrying. Because most of our audience are people who were in varsity at that time. Today, they are captains of industry. So you have to have grown with them. Kwaito is the new jazz. Those guys drive their Mercs and their Bentleys to Chisanyama on Sundays and wear their All-Stars. Nespoti.
Yeah.
So that's the market that we are catering
for. And what skill do you think artists need to have in this entertainment industry?
The first skill that you need to have is the ability to read and comprehend contracts.
Okay.
Read and comprehend contracts. And it's such a basic skill to master. And then the second one is your bookkeeping, basic bookkeeping skills. Just understand your numbers and the implications of those numbers. That input this side means output on the other side. If you're getting R1,000,000 advance, believe you me, the cost of it is higher on the other end because it includes your time now and your energy for them to recoup it out of you. So that, and then the third is branding and marketing skills.
Okay.
Because a lot of us concentrate too much on creating the product and are precious about the product, being perfectionists and make a beautiful product to the point where now you no longer want to give it away and throw it away. And art is dead. Art was never meant to be sold. The industry created that.
Okay.
Art was to be given away. And then people would thank you the way they wanted to thank you, you know. Musicians would be invited to a wedding to come and perform. Then they'd be fed.
And that's how you get thanked.
And then the music industry consolidated it and created a thing where you could record music now. And to record that music was expensive, you know. And so it meant that you had to sign your life away as an artist in order for you to have those recordings and to eat, right? And then somebody could own that. That's why the first owners of, one of the most, the first owners of the music industry were these middle-aged and old-aged Jewish men in the US. You know, your Warners and, you know, some of these other companies, they were Cadillac Records and what, you know, they came back in the day. And
yes, I remember from a movie.
Cadillac
Records, yeah.
And, you know, it's so for me, you really need to have those skills where, you have to have that thing to know that you're really not supposed to be selling this stuff. You know, you have to create enough for you to actually give away more music than you do sell.
Okay.
And that guarantees a certain level of symbiosis with the people and the market that you serve, that you're able to then maintain yourself through their love, you know, and the generosity that it's like money. If you give away, rich people, you know, that really know, if you give away more money than you get, you just keep receiving.
Are they not evading taxes?
They are.
By giving money away?
They are, but it's the same, right? If you pay taxes, we still finance SASA with 7 million people who are actually propping up a tax base for 60 million people.
Wow.
You know, we pay billions a month on SASA. I think 30 billion on SASA.
Sure.
I want trillions a year, you know.
Sure.
On SASA.
That's an investment.
so you do give away to charity one way or the other.
Yeah.
So I tip. You know, I give the guys controlling the traffic at the traffic lights, give a guy something.
But those guys are doing an honest job. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I think they do it better than even people that are hired to do it.
Yeah. So
I don't know who put them up there and said, guys, just
it's the need for
tell us how. Wow.
It's the need for Nyaope. Majita baya talent and go get there high.
They're efficient, I won't lie. And we all follow, we all listen. We just
including the metro and the leadership. You know, definitely down the road there's leadership that stays down Winnie Mandela.
True.
They stop for those Nyaope guys there. Hey,
stop.
Leadership, stop. You come, leadership.
No, they do really well at it.
Yeah,
no, it makes sense what you're saying though.
Yeah. So it's we have to realize, we have to be the change that we want to see in the world and understand that you don't always have to bend yourself to the directions or the winds that blow. Adjust your sails and still stay on course to where you're going to. You know. Yeah.
That's really important. Yeah. Thank you so much for that.
Hallelujah.
Now, to your future and your future plans and what you're busy working with now. I've seen you busy with pots and poets. Pots and poets. Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us about that initiative.
Well, Pots and Poets, I don't really have a lot of annual entities in terms of the events that I do.
Okay.
I'm not such a great events guy,
Okay.
but events are key in order to have an outlet for the products that you have and also the projects that
Okay.
you have. Musical projects or be it lifestyle projects and so on. I've worked with companies that make gin, for example, native gin. I worked with Mr. Ashley Muemisi, who's still doing very well with native gin.
Okay.
So Pots and Poets is more like, my annual property where I will be able to have an outlet for my poetry and my art, but also my love for food,
Okay.
cooking and eating.
Yeah.
But primarily around Heritage Month,
Okay.
so that we are more into the traditional cooking and the art is more speaking about our heritage and so on. So we align all of that. The poetry as well. Re batla mabogo.
I hope
we
you're
don't,
getting an
we don't
invite.
want snap, snap, snap.
It's too conscious.
Yeah.
Snap, snap, snap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with the Pots and Poets, it's really just to align those things and have one entity that I'm hoping to build it over the next, 3 to 5 years. And just come up with something. And also I want to get into the tourism space,
Okay.
and Hartis presents that. Plus the fact that it's in my home province of the Northwest.
You do a lot for your town, eh?
I love the Northwest. Bukoni Buperema really gave me everything that I am, and it's so convenient because it's on the edge of the Northwest and within such a short distance from Joburg that it feels like you're still in Gauteng. And that it's convenient for me. My kids who are here in Joburg, they do schooling here in Joburg, so it really is convenient. And this year is my 30th anniversary in the music entertainment business. I'm turning 50. And so there's a lot of projects
That's a
around
big
that,
celebration.
foundations and this and that coming up this year. So there's quite a lot happening.
You really love Northwest. I see you were part of the Royal Polo as well.
Yeah.
Which was the first time they had the polo in Northwest.
Yes. The two installments by a company called Liteka Eventic.
Okay.
They all have also had a really tough time, getting it off the ground. We missed last year. I'm hoping that, they could, find a way to bring it back this year because I think it's an important event for the Northwest in the tourism industry, but generally for the area of Bojanala, it's a great tourism area which includes Sun City rather, and multiple game resorts and establishments around there. And the polo could be something great to kind of bring people in big numbers.
Yeah.
There, yeah.
Thank you so much. That is incredible. Please, just a word of motivation for artists that are coming up in the industry. Can you just leave them with something to keep them going? Because it's not an easy climb.
Yeah. Can I go direct to camera?
Yeah, sure thing.
Okay, first of all, I just want to big up my friends at News Bistro for giving us this beautiful, beautiful setting for me to talk to Mandy. And, I think that's how we grow in the business, for having a great symbiosis and helping each other and holding each other. I think to the youngsters in the music industry, if you're coming up, first of all, stop saying that I want to be an artist and be one. You being paid for it doesn't make you one. That just makes you being paid for it. And put education behind everything that you do. So make sure that you work harder on yourself than you do at your job. That's why in a company you can have two people that do the same job, that sell the same product with the same resources, and one is getting paid twice or three times what the other one is being paid. It is because you are being paid for the value that you bring within the time that you're given rather than the time that you're spending on the job. Hallelujah.
Thank you so much. It's a great way to close it. Awufuna ukuzivala ngepoetry nyana.
Ke itsitse.
Motswako. Hanyane
Ke
fela. Let me say my goodbye first, and then
Yeah,
you'll
yeah.
close it off.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share, because sharing is caring. Thank you for watching our episode with the legendary, or rather seasoned artist, Stone. I can't say your surname.
Siate.
Siate. I don't know why I want to say Siete.
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 Yeah, Siete. I should have married Tembi so that I could change her name.
Yeah.
Everybody was Siate.
It's been a great pleasure having you. And thank you to New Bistro. They've been amazing. Thank you for sharing your space with us. Would definitely love to be back here. Beautiful place in Bryanston. If you ever want to catch a coffee, maybe some cake. I'm sure they have cake.
Wine.
Yeah, ooh, wine.
they got beautiful
Please
wine.
do come take a turn. It's a beautiful place. Over to you.
Hallelujah. Rrrr. Yoshape, for the kids or for the grown-ups?
I think,
Let's start with the kids, then go for the
okay,
grown-ups.
cool,
Yeah?
yeah.
Okay, the other thing I forgot to mention is I'm working on my podcast
Okay.
series called Stone Unturned. We'll be, covering a lot of social and political issues, but bringing them to the layman's desk, where, getting you to understand economics, geopolitics, but, as just a normal man of the street. So
That's
I hope when I
incredible.
do launch, I'll come back just to let you know I'm doing it.
Absolutely. Would love to hear about that. That's great, because I don't think enough people know what's going on around them.
No doubt. Stone
Yeah,
Unturned.
yeah.
We'll tell you about G20, about the Tsetsohle tsa Lefatshe and what's the whole significance to us.
I think it's important. So people, when they vote, they know they're making the right decision.
Absolutely. You got to understand economics. Why should we care when Trump is the president and the policies that he has, even though he's all the way in America? Yeah. All right. I wrote this song. Actually, I wrote this verse on the Bongo Muffin album from Bongo with Love.
Yeah.
It's on a song called Better Must Come. It's actually the first song on the album. And it just talks about how with everything that we've gone through, really now better things must come. That image of what freedom is must come. And I wrote it inspired by the new skr flow, So let's go. Hemona ho, taba moto, seka wa leba mo kwepa matlo, ke sa lefo, tlhabile po, I'm never lata ke modinako, blood of my enemies, moditlako, Motswako, pudi mampudi le sole moto, tunyaka flow, bola ya mo, kale le tswetse, we kicking the four, look at the Congo, Mali, Uganda, tunya diyala, bana balela, ntuse modimo re kgone go tsela. Hallelujah.
Dope.
Oh man. Let me tell you a story. Irile go kolwa dikgolo mo tlalong la kgongwane e phatswana. Bonka di latlhela bo matwetwe ba bega fa ba bone mephato e boa letsholo. Ba bone dikgosi le dikgosigadi bo stonite le bo mendi ba le sopo sengwe. Ga utlola megolokwane le medudu etso. Mongwari ke a gopola I looked and felt like letlhabula. The sun so hot horota even le dipula re tswa le dipala, but that was the winter time. 30 years down the line, the real sunshine, freedom and happiness today, sponsored by di Khatlamela Masisi batlhabani marumo fatshe a ne mo di gaditsalanyana re ska ja go jilo re re magapu a tile meno a fedile pula.
Aine. And just like that, it's a wrap. Cheers, guys. That is so dope. Oh.